Well, today it's all about storms. It's about storms that took place here 2,000 years ago, and it's about storms that are taking place in the United States and the rest of the world today. This is DaviD TaL, this is the Balagan Connection, and today we're going to tie all of those storms together, talk about quite a few different things, and as you can see, the studio has moved from the United States in our back room to the Sea of Galilee in the Galilee. This is going to be what's going to be happening in the next couple of days, so share this, show this, and I will try to share with this as much as we can. Start with storms. You're looking at the shore of the Sea of Galilee. Actually, we're looking from east to west. The shore of the Sea of Galilee that you see behind me is one of the most important places in the world. I don't know if I can fit my fingers in, but along that piece of shore, from the city that you see on that side to where you see the screen end on this side, 70% of the New Testament, of the Gospels of the New Testament were written. That's where Jesus fed the multitudes. That's where Jesus taught the sermons. That's where Jesus healed the people. That's where Jesus walked on water. Excuse me. That's where it all happened. And that's where Jesus got on a boat on the other side, coming over here, and ran into a massive storm. The storm of the Sea of Galilee, mentioned in the Gospels in a couple of places, and everybody freaked out. Everybody freaked. The disciples were on the boat, freaked out because the wind was so high and the waves were so high. And Jesus turns to them and rebukes them and says, "Don't be afraid." Then he turns to the storm and rebukes the storm, and it becomes quiet. What I want to stress is that this is a time to rebuke the other storm. The other storm is what's going on in the United States and the rest of the world, the Western world today. Very interesting. It's in the Western world, not in the Eastern world. It's in the Christian world and not in the Muslim world. I find that fascinating that it's the Christian societies who have actually mixed up this storm. And this storm is a storm that is actually threatening to turn over the boat of Western civilization. Everything that you hold dear is being rattled right now by this storm that's going on. Let's start off with the storm. First of all, these are people who are yelling slogans that disconnect what happened here from the Bible to you. They're yelling slogans of "from the river to the sea." By the way, we're on the river. Okay, that was Jewish area. I mean, you open up the New Testament, Jesus taught there, he taught in synagogues. That is a Jewish area. And if you say from the river to the sea that Palestine should be without Jews, you mean that there are no Jews over there. You mean you're erasing the Jewish heritage. You're erasing the Jewish elements of the New Testament that were written along that shore right there. You are erasing the connection of the chosen people to the promised land. That connection was made in Genesis 12, and as far as I'm concerned, is still in place today. Which means that the storm that we're talking about is a storm that is putting waves on everything that connects the Bible to the history to the archaeology. I'm on a tour right now. We were in the village of Capernaum. If you walk into the village of Capernaum, you're going to find archaeological artifacts that are connected to the synagogue, Jewish, that are connected to a menorah that's actually chiseled on the wall, that is connected to writing in Aramaic that I can still read today. Every other situation, every other people, this would be enough to indicate that this is the ancestral homeland of a people, and in this case, the Jewish people. I mean, when you go to Australia and you find Aboriginal artifacts in the archaeology, you say, this is a connection between the Aborigines to the land. If you go to the Black Mountains, you'll find Indian artifacts that are connected to the hills. You say this indicates that the Native Americans are connected to this. Here are archaeological artifacts, biblical connections, and again, even if you're not a great believer, the Bible's a historical book. All of that indicate that Jews lived there, and now the storm is rising up, which actually tries to wash away the Jewish presence from there. It's called anti-Semitism, and let me make this clear. Anti-Semitism is the hatred of the Jews for who they were. And the Jews are who they were, who they are. It's because God chose us. It's because God chose us that the Messiah, Jesus himself, came out of the Jewish people. Again, if you're trying to disrupt God's plan, you're trying to disrupt that connection. And anti-Semitism is a work against, or anything that goes against the Jewish people. And then when the Jewish people who were in diaspora for 2,000 years started coming back to their homeland, the yearning, the prayer, the fulfillment of the prophecies, including the dry bones in Ezekiel 37, all of that, okay, became incorporated in a political movement called the Movement to Fulfill the Prophecies of the Jews Returning to Their Homeland. One of the names for the homeland is Zion. The fulfillment of prophecy for Jews to return to the homeland is called Zionism. It is a biblical movement more than anything else. And now, in the storm that I'm hearing going on in the United States, I hear people yelling, okay? Zionism is terrorism. Anti-Semitism is accepted. That is the wind. Those are the waves. That is what's going on. And I'm going to tell you right now, just like the disciples in the boat on that body of water, everybody's freaked out. I'm freaked out. What we need now is for Jesus to come and calm the storm. What we need now is for level heads to look at what's going on and saying, this is a storm. This is wrong. What we need now is for people to realize that this is a storm. To realize if the waves get big enough and the wind gets strong enough, it's going to turn over the boat. And to stand up and say, this is wrong, this is crazy. What we need now is for people to say Zionism is biblical. So if you're anti-Zionist, you're anti-biblical. What we need now is for people to say anti-Semitism is the hatred of God's chosen people. It's wrong. It is a sin. Excuse me. And what we need now is for more level-headed people to say, this is a time to stand up and make sure that everybody knows that this is wrong. So the connection that we made today is between the storm that was actually took place on these waters and the storm that's going on all over the world. And Jesus, please calm this storm the way you calmed that storm 2,000 years ago. This is DaviD TaL. This is the Balagan Connection. Hope to see you soon.